All right, for those of you who don't know me, this is Ryan. I'm the technical trainer over at Stealth. Today we're going to be going over the Diego system. We are going to cover a little bit of everything on it. We're going to really talk about the design and function of it, why it is, why we came up with it, and then we'll really dive deep into each of the parts and accessories involved with it. And throughout, we'll be discussing the pricing as we go along. So design and function wise, Diego system was really brought to Stealth by one of our Latin American customers. They requested a system that's really versatile and pediatric. And if I can get my PowerPoint to cooperate with us, that'd be cool here. There we go. So really versatile pediatric system is what we were looking for. We didn't really have, before Diego, we didn't have a ton of pediatric solutions. But what's nice with this is it can be broken up and be ordered as individual components or as a complete system. And as this complete system, it really does offer a nice little option for a pediatric market. So what's great about it too is as your end user grows, this thing can grow with that child and still be functional for them. Clients we're looking to target with this system would include kids who may need minimal to moderate postural support. Maybe they need a solid back with minimal deformities or stability needs. Improved trunk and pelvic positioning can be accomplished with this. Definitely have growth capability in the system, and it's adjustable. The ability to add or remove components is also something we can do with this system. Portability is actually a pretty cool feature of the system, and being able to remove it from a system, from a chair, from a frame, move it to another one, or transfer it for transport reasons is pretty simple and pretty easy with the hardware we've developed for it. At the same time, Diego helps to facilitate care of that end user. All the adjustments and everything is done from the rear of the chair. All the fitting and everything like that can be done without having to push the client away from the backrest. So it's a pretty nice, clean little system. Works out pretty well. Another nice feature of this means we can add this to just about any base you would like to add it to. So we put it in strollers, rigid chairs, folding chairs, power chairs, tilt and space chairs. We can work with all of those. So we're not limited strictly to, say, a rigid manual wheelchair. We can put it in just about any of them. If you order a second set of hardware, really just the receivers that mount on your cane poles, then you can transfer it from one base to another very easily. But once it's assembled, like I said, you can part it out or you can order it as a complete unit. And once it's assembled as a complete unit, it's super easy to deal with, easy to transfer, easy to transport, and easy to store. So Diego is also been it's been tested with the hardware we'll talk about. What I do want to point out is it's most likely compatible with some of the other hardwares and components we have here at Stealth. We just haven't gone through any testing and compatibility fitments with them yet. So we do only have one option on the order form for the time being. If you guys want some other hardwares, just call us up. We'll work through that with you. And if it does become a popular enough addition to the Diego system, eventually it could make it on our order form for you. So let's start talking about some of the parts and everything here. So parts and accessories wise, Diego system, again, is a complete system. So it's really made up of several components. So we really start with a width adjustable backrest and build from there. We do have a lightweight multi-axis headrest hardware and headrest components. We also have flip lock mounting hardware to choose from. It was developed specifically for this system. We can choose fixed or swingway laterals to add to your backrest to build in some more support contours and surfaces. And then the cushion. We offer a contoured cushion with hinged aluminum pan as well. So like I said, it's all one complete assembly once it's removed from a base. So let's talk about the back. Diego back starts really and truly as a planar backrest. It's an aluminum shell to keep the weight down, believe it or not, and it's going to come in 3 widths with 4 heights total to choose from. You've got multiple cutouts, and that helps with mounting and a bunch of airflow through the back. You can get your fingers in there, feel for contact, things like that. So those cutouts include through holes for your headrest seat to back mount. We also have a hardware track that you can use to mount your mounting hardware or your lateral supports. They will share the same track on this particular backrest. For everything above 10 inches wide, we also have postural support mounting holes. Those slots are going to be these guys right here on the top and the bottom. So you've got those on both your 12 and 14 wide. On the 10-inch wide, we just don't have the real estate to squeeze those in there and not interfere with other holes and cutouts that we already have. So your seat to back hinge also has holes already cut. They're through holes, they're not threaded. And then we have those large holes. So large holes are multi-purposed. So they serve to, number one, reduce the weight of that backrest. It will also, by extension, increase airflow slightly. It's not going to be great, but it does help. And then the big thing that I think people tend to forget is now we have access points to get our hands in there and really feel for appropriate contact on that child without pushing them away from the backrest first. On the backrest, we can order it with 2 different options of foam. So you can order it with option A, which is a 3/4 inch total foam, which is a 1/2 inch HR3 and a 1/4 inch closed cell. If you guys are familiar with our ADI line of backrests, this is essentially the exact same foam from the ADI line. Option B is going to be a little thicker and more of a memory foam type of feel. So this is going to be a 1-inch foam made up of 1/2 inch medium Sunmate and 1/2 inch HR3 on the front face. For the cover of the backrest, the back cover is going to be CoolCore on your contact surface. Hopefully you guys all know the benefits of CoolCore by now. It's a pretty interesting material, lets you immerse very well compared to other similar fabrics, but it also helps regulate that temperature and moisture as well, better than other fabrics do. On the non-contact surface, we have an air mesh to help increase that airflow. We didn't want to do just another like Velcro loop on the back and not allow for as much airflow as we can through this system. There's also a honeycomb on all the rear-facing components of this backrest, and there's also a rear hardware cover that is honeycomb as well. And that hardware cover does a couple of things. It covers all of the hardware. So if you're looking at it from the rear of the chair, you just see a honeycomb material. You don't see all of the hardware and stuff like that. So it's a cleaner look, more aesthetically pleasing, but it also hides the hardware. So we have less temptation for people to get in there and start messing with hardwares when they maybe don't need to be. Again, 10, 12, and 14 wide, 10, 12, 14, and 16 tall. Part numbers will call out your width and your height and your foam choice. We're not asking you guys to memorize these part numbers or anything like that. The order form will build it for you as you start selecting your components and your dimensions. So the order form is pretty nice and interactive. We'll chat about that in just a second though. As far as part numbers and everything, we got a few to choose from. What I want to point out on this slide though is really the fact that option A foam is about $95 less, or actually more than that, $95 less than option B foam. So that option B foam does increase your MSRP. So just keep that in mind as you're going through and ordering these backs later on. We can also do this as a complete backrest kit. So we can order it with the hardware, which will also increase your price as well. All right, when we get into the lateral supports, your backrest is going to come with a lateral wing. Regardless of the size of the dimension of the wing, or sorry, of the backrest, the wing is always going to be the same. So it's a 5-inch total overall height, which is height adjustable and width adjustable based off of the tracks built into both the wing and the backrest. So keep in mind, they do share the same hardware track, so you may potentially run into some interference there, but hopefully that's fairly unlikely. Built into the hardware track on the wing itself is about 1 inch of width adjustability. So you have 2 inches overall on your backrest. Also on the outside of that wing is a lateral support track. So that's where you would mount your lateral thoracic supports. And you have 1 inch of height adjustability built into that track. Also want to talk real quick about the shape of that wing. If you'll notice, the top edge is a nice straight cut, and the bottom edge is rounded. These are side specific. If you flip it to the other side, that rounded edge will actually peek out over the top of your foam, of your actual pad. So they are side specific. They are cut to match the contour of the cushion. So just keep that in mind. We don't want to run into that situation where we flip it over, we have metal sticking out over top, and now potential for a kid to come in contact with aluminum. Adjustment's pretty simple and straightforward though. It is metric, 4mm bolts from the rear of the chair. Loosen the inner two that you see in this picture. You can slide it up and down and width as well. If you loosen the outer two, you can start adjusting the height of your lateral on top of what you can do with the wing itself. When we get into actual lateral pads, there it goes. We've got a swing weight and a fixed. So those attach to each of the lateral wings. You choose one you want. We don't have a standard option. The pads are going to be a pull core and a honeycomb on the non-contact. So this is going to match your cushions. We really want a clean system that looks like one complete system. So all of the fabrics are going to be honeycomb and cool core, which is another nice aesthetic thing, but there's also a functional thing as well between all the temperature and moisture regulation that this fabric can help with. So adjustments here are pretty cool. Like I said, we do have 1 inch overall total height and, height and width adjustability on that wing, plus all the adjustability built into the lateral itself. So we do have a lot of adjustability. We only say 1 inch, but if you start looking at it and build it out over the whole backrest, we're in total with laterals looking at more like 4 inches total adjustability width-wise. We offer the pads on the Diego system in a 3x3, 3x4, and a 4x4. So 10-inch wide is going to come standard with a 3x3, 12 with a 3x4, and a 14 wide with the 4x4. Keep in mind though, you can select any of these for any size back. The only reason we would ever send you this standard is if it was not specified, and we cannot get a hold of you once you convert the order. Pretty standard pricing on all the lateral components. Keep in mind that the lateral wing will come with your backrest shell. This part number here on top is just a replacement part number in case it's damaged or lost. When we get into the headrest hardware. So headrest hardware is pretty nice hardware. You guys hopefully might be familiar with it. We're using a shortened down version of the HMO 500. So we're calling it HMO 501. This is a pretty lightweight hardware. It's multi-axis. It's super easy to mess with. So easy to set up, easy to use. You can get all kinds of crazy angles and positions out of it that some of our other headrest hardware just can't do. It's going to include the seat to back mount that'll bolt directly to the Diego system, so no drilling or anything like that needs to happen. And the plate on the end is compatible with every single one of our headrests on that one single plate. So we'll work with all of our 17mm and 1-inch headrest systems on top of some of the other 1-inch headrest mounting hardwares out there in the market. Not all of them, but some of them. So on this HMO 501, we can get height, depth, angle, tilt, and swivel adjustments out of it. So we get pretty crazy positions like you see in this little video here.
Hey, Ryan?
So we'll still come with, yes, sir.
A question. Can we still use the offset plate that we have from the stealth part on the backrest?
Yes. Yep. The whole pattern doesn't change, so all of the other stealth headrest stuff is compatible. You just have to order that off order form. So you just call us up or just order it separate.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, there we go. So with the Diego system, we're going to use basically a Comfort Plus headrest. We're going to offer it in either 6 or 8 inches. The 10-inch and 12-inch wide are going to come standard with that 6-inch version. 14 wide is going to come standard with the 8-inch version. But again, that's just if we can't get a hold of you and you didn't specify. So you can order either size for any width back. And as we just pointed out, if you don't like this headrest, it is compatible with all of our other headrest mounting hardware as well. Sorry guys, my PowerPoint is super slow to respond today. There we go. So both sizes of these are going to come with the CoolCore cover. That is where you get one benefit from going with this standard offering. It will be the same material that you get with your backrest and your laterals and cushion. Once we move on to the flip-lock mounting hardware, this was developed with the backrest in mind, with this system in mind. This is a quick release hardware. It's going to fit multiple cane diameters. We're basically using an ADI cane clamp, so whatever your ADI hardware fits on, this will fit on as well, as far as clamping to it. It's going to be angle adjustable. What's nice here is we've built some set screws into the angle adjustable portion to help lock that in and keep it from self-adjusting. You've got 2 inches of depth adjustability and 3 inches of width adjustability in total, so that's 1.5 inches per side. Flip lock is not side specific, but at the same time it is side specific. So what I mean by that, if you're looking at this little red dot here, you can see a silver pin inserted into the bottom side of this flip lock hardware. What that does is when the flip lock is released, if that pin is in there, gravity will force it onto the pin and your backrest doesn't just simply fall out of your chair. So by keeping that on the bottom side, we don't run into any weird issues like that. So when you mount it like you see here, where you're mounting behind the cane, that would be your standard mounting. So your left and right, you go on what we call left and right on the hardware side. But if you flip them to the other sides and put them in front of the cane, the one that's labeled in part number wise as left would actually be on the right side. So they're not side specific, but at the same time they are. The most important thing is that little silver pin being on the bottom side. All of your hardware here, minus your 2 set screws, is going to be a 4mm. Believe those 2 little bitty set screws are 2.5mm. Operating flip lock hardware is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You've got a red lever on it. If you look close, you're going to have an I on the top side, and it's actually under this lever as well, so you have two I's and one O. Anytime that lever is pointed at an I, your flip lock hardware is locked in place. If you point it towards the O, it's actually open and you can release it. So to pull this hardware out, you would flip this lever up to where it's pointed directly at the O, take your backrest straight up out of it, and you're done. So it's pretty simple and pretty easy to operate. There's a little set screw on the outside that'll help us adjust the tension of that lever. We do set that at the factory here, and we do Loctite it in place, so hopefully you'll never have to deal with it, but just be aware that that little set screw is there. We've got a couple part numbers here to choose from. We have it as both sides as a package, or one side individually in case you have issues and need to replace it. Moving down the system here, we move to our seat pan. So the part number for the seat pan will actually include the pan itself, some J&L hardware, a seat to back hinge, and a cushion. So when we talk about the seat pan itself, it's available in the same dimensions as the backrest. So 10, 12, and 14 wide, 10, 12, 14, and 16 deep. We're going to have multiple cutouts on this seat pan as well. On the front side, we're going to have some J&L tracks. So it gives you some depth adjustability of where your hardware is actually placed. And then you have all the width adjustability built into the J&L hardware itself. On the back side, you have on the outer two sides, through holes for the mounting tabs for your J&L, as well as through holes for your seat to back hinge. So your J&L, pretty standard stuff. It's the same J&L we use everywhere else. We're going to offer it with 7/8, 3/4, or 1-inch diameter. If you need anything outside of that we make, just let us know. We'll work with you and get you what you need. Width and height adjustable on this J&L hardware, we're going to use the 7-hole 2-slot L, like you see in the bottom left, and then the 2-hole J bolted to that. So you can get it all over the place. You can actually raise or lower your seat pan depending on how you put that. Other hardware, like I said, could be used. We just haven't tested it for compatibility or anything like that. But I think everybody on the call knows it's probably going to work just fine, provided you have the right kind of hardware. Seat to back hinge is pretty straightforward. You've got 3 inches of adjustment on your depth on your hinge. You have 2 hole locations on the pan that you can mount it with. You have the same height adjustability on your backrest with this hinge. And then we can also lock in with that set screw, with that bolt on the middle of the hinge. We can lock in your seat to back angle. What's nice about being able to do that is if you do transfer your seat from one base to another or pull it out to transport your chair, you do lock in that seat to back angle and you know it's always going to be in the right place. Multiple part numbers to choose from. Just keep in mind when we're ordering this, we do want to specify our tubing diameter so we make sure we get you the right hardware. Then when we get to the cushion itself, right now we're stocking these cushions, but we're also treating them almost like a custom cushion. We're building these by hand every time we get building these by hand for stock right now. The end goal with this cushion is we essentially want to shrink down some of our stealth cushions that we currently have to the dimensions that match these seat pans. So we'll have that eventually. We already have some of those dimensions available, or I won't say available. We have the ability to do that with some of the cushions we currently offer. So hopefully in the next year or two, you'll see that make its way to Diego as well. But for the foam, for now, we're using an HR3 closed cell foam, HR3 foam with closed cell base, and then we're using the ETHA foam for all the contouring. As far as the cover goes, it's going to be the same cool core on contact surface and honeycomb on all the non-contact. You'll still have your 2 Velcro hook fabrics on the bottom side. That way you can Velcro it to your pan. It's going to be the same dimensions as the pan, and it is contoured somewhat minimally though. And again, kind of want to point out here, you can order it with or without the cushion, and you can do the cushion separate. So here's where I say we're kind of treating it as a custom for the time being. We're going to stock certain dimensions and certain sizes of this cushion, but on our side of it, it's just treated as a custom. We're not going to have a special custom price or anything like that, though. So as far as pricing goes, it's pretty straightforward. If we just start adding up the numbers and look at a complete system like we see here on the right, we're looking at about $31.04 for an MSRP. So that's just going to be this complete package with all the hardware you need to mount it to a chair. From what I understand, we're fairly competitive with similar products at that price point. So that's all I've got on Diego. You guys have any questions?
Well, I would like to ask you just one thing about the fabrics.
Yep.
Will we have some color that we might choose, or is just black?
At the moment, it's just black. I do know what we're looking at more for our cushion line with Coolcore is they do make other colors. We just haven't adopted any of those other colors yet. So we're looking into the feasibility of doing that. So if we do have other colors on Coolcore material, it won't be for a while.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Cool. Well, what I'm going to do is share this presentation with you guys. That way you have it to use it as you need it. I know there's going to have to be some translation for some of you. And then we'll also make sure you get the order form for it. So we're hoping to officially fully launch this system first week or two of February. So it's available now. You can go ahead and order it, but it hasn't been a full rollout yet. It is CE marked too, so it is available outside of the States as well. So I'll get you the order form, this presentation, and if there's anything else you guys need, feel free to reach out and we'll do what we can for you.
Thank you so much, Ryan.